August, everybody, and welcome to the 5th SandCast. I am your host, Magmar Fire, and tonight we have quite a bit of news in the Zelda world today. And with me, I have two very special people, and first off is...
Tacky All Black here, as always.
Yes, very nice. Sadly, you couldn't make it last time, but we're very glad to have you back here, man.
But yeah.
Yeah, and...
Glad to be there.
Yep. And second order of business, we have this week's special guest. Okay, and I use the term week loosely, and by week I mean like month, or 6 months, or 2 years. And our special guest is Alex from the Desert Colossus forums. Welcome to the SandCast, Alex.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody.
Alright. So, we have quite a bit of news tonight, as I said before. So, let's get on going. First order of business, we have Tachion's favorite subject, Majora's Mask 3D.
Yes.
And we will definitely be getting his opinions on that, and we will be discussing that in thorough detail.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we have Nintendo's unique 3D Ambassadors program, which is... well, we'll just explain that when we get to it, won't we?
Yes.
And after that, we have Operation Rainfall, which we will talk for probably just a brief bit, but still it's really worth mentioning. And after that, Aonuma's new IP, potentially. And fourth, or fifth, I kind of lost count. But the last order of business is the lack of Ganon in Skyward Sword being confirmed. Yes. Explode in happiness or in anger, depending on how you view the news, but that is how it's gonna go, and we will be discussing our opinions on that when we get there. So, but first, you know, Tech, I really didn't want to do this episode without you, because, first off, Majora's Mask 3D, I knew that you'd have a lot of stuff to talk about it, and, well, I'm sure everyone would. So, yes. So why don't you give the intro about that? And discuss what you know to start us off.
Well, first off, you have to understand that Majora's Mask is the greatest video game ever made.
Of course, man. Majora's Mask is amazing. No doubt about that.
Just gotta get that out there. And after all of the attention that Ocarina of Time 3D has gotten, Nintendo basically said, we want people's opinions. That's why, since there's such a big outcry for it, that's why, we said we had the 3D capability, so we might as well make Ocarina of Time 3D. And so they want people to support what they want in terms of the 3D content. So they decided to start up, or they've confirmed the possibility of Majora's Mask 3D. And that really, really excites me, because it sort of got overshadowed by the wake of Ocarina of Time, and its release was not really well publicized.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, there were quite a few people who were put off by a lot of its new features, like the time system, for instance, was like the biggest offender for many people, even though if you knew how to actually manipulate time, it wasn't nearly as bad as what a lot of people said it would be. Or said that it was, because it was actually a really awesome system, in my opinion. And truth be told, over time, really, people have been becoming a lot more warmed up by Majora's Mask time system and its concept overall, so it's been vindicated by history, as it were. So,
definitely.
And it's evidenced by that fact that there are so many people who are actually wanting Majora's Mask 3D right now. So,
absolutely, there have been a lot of online petitions and including instructions, which we'll probably link to at the end of the SandCast, for getting word out there, writing to Nintendo of America, or just places in general, get things done.
And funny you should say that, because there is a big movement going on in alongside Operation Rainfall, or kind of a spiritual successor to it, called Operation Moonfall, which is, of course, very appropriate, as per, the story of Majora's Mask. And it's basically going to be like, okay, I'm not exactly sure of the exact details, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be like maybe another letter-writing campaign, or some way to let Nintendo know that this is what the fans want. And they're just going to try to push through and let them know, like spam Facebook pages or whatever. I'm just making assumptions here because that's what Operation Rainfall does first and foremost, or for the most part. So yeah, pretty much. That's what Operation Moonfall is going to do, and we will post a link in the description detailing what you can do to help Operation Moonfall, and see if we can actually get Majora's Mask 3D over here.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that Nintendo will be more responsive to Operation Moonfall than they have been to Operation Rainfall?
You know,
I would say so. Because
I definitely would say so. It's sad for me to say, being an Operation Rainfall supporter myself. It makes sense because remember, Zelda is much less niche than a lot of the other games that people have been supporting as of late. Because, did I say more niche? I meant less niche. Well, Zelda is much less niche, so it has a much more grand appeal or more widespread appeal for people.
Right.
Because it's such a popular series and.
Because it's the best game ever?
Pretty much, man. You know it.
And it's also important to remember that it's not an initially Japanese title, so they won't have to really work on translation as well as porting it into a 3D environment. So it's like they already have all the textures and everything all set up. They even have
yes, that's right.
Instead of actually moving it into motion.
That's right. Because they did the exact same thing with Majora's Mask back in the year 1998-2000, or not 1999-2000.
Yep.
When they were developing it, because all they had to do was they used more or less the same engine from Ocarina of Time, but they just upgraded it with adding a time axis, and they just put in all the models and stuff, and I'm pretty sure that they upgraded a lot of their textures as well. There is something a lot more polished about it than it was with Ocarina of Time. So,
keep in mind, with Majora's Mask, you actually had to get an expansion pack for it.
Yes, that is true as well. So
so maybe they just gave it more RAM or something.
Yes, that is exactly what the expansion pack did. I think it maybe doubled its RAM, or something like that. I don't remember.
Well, it's definitely a RAM-intensive game, especially because you've got the element of time.
Yep, that's true as well, and I had to pay it. Well, yeah, pretty much. And of course, there are more textures as well. And it actually had a lot more blur effects as well, I believe. So that So if I'm not mistaken, because I'm a programmer, so I should know these things. So no guarantees. But blur effects or any kind of effects like that would probably bring processing time up.
Yes.
And it may need a lot more variables and stuff like that as well. And with better textures as well in Majora's Mask, and as well as with better models, just compare Ocarina of Time's bottle models to Majora's Mask models, and you'll see a huge difference. So with something like that, you could probably expect there to have been a lot more vertices in their models. So that's probably where the expansion pack needed was Nintendo's secret weapon for that as well. But with Majora's Mask 3D, they still have more or less the same process, in order to just create a new game. I mean, they just have to change the engine a bit, import all the models, import some of the music that were done with Ocarina of Time, which should be easier for the composers, especially since, believe it or not, in case you weren't listening to the last two SandCasts, they actually tried to recreate the music, but they couldn't just port it simply because of hardware. So, with a lot of the music from Ocarina of Time going into Majora's Mask, like Lon Lon Ranch's theme, for example, and, the Ocarina notes and stuff like that, and like the Song of Time, for instance, that would actually be easier for them as well. But of course, there is a lot of new music in Majora's Mask as well. So they still have their work cut out for them. Not saying that it's going to be very easy, but come on, it's not impossible. And this is what the fans want. I mean, I know Tachyon's probably just going to get a 3DS just for that game, and I know and I know that it's going to be pretty much a day one purchase for me as well. So that's no problem. And
I'm willing to sit in line for 2 weeks to get to be the first person for the national release.
It's okay. I bought my 3DS basically just for Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was similar for me as well, but I had a lot of games, to help my decision as well because of all the awesome third-party support that they're planning.
Mm-hmm.
But
I want to get one of those expensive 3DSs just so I can get the bundle of games.
Expensive 3D. Oh, they have special 3DSs?
Well, it's like everybody who bought the 3DS when it was really expensive to compensate.
Yeah, the ambassador.
Oh, that's right. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the other order of business that we have to take care of as well.
Right.
So, but there is one more question that I want to ask you guys about Majora's Mask 3D.
Okay.
Okay, I know, Ryu Tachyon, that you don't want major changes to be made to the story, which I agree, personally, because you don't want to change what's already perfect.
Right.
But, if they change the game a little bit like what they did with Ocarina of Time, what changes do you think would be acceptable? Me, personally, I'm hoping that if they do go ahead with Majora's Mask 3D, that they create a Master Quest version.
Yes.
Mm.
I mean, Majora's Mask, in and of itself, is already harder than Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Jyorg. But if they made it even harder, ooh, Nelly. And of course, it's just another way to try to keep it fresh, because there are a lot of people who've already played Majora's Mask.
Definitely.
So it would be good for both the people who haven't played it before yet, and, for people to know how awesome Majora's Mask really is.
Mm-hmm.
And also good for the veteran gamers as well, which is exactly what they did with Ocarina of Time 3D.
Yep.
They added the original experience for people who were new to the series and for the people who were going on a nostalgia trip. And they also went for the people who were already veterans. And they just wanted to make sure that people who may not have played the Master Quest version, which I'm sure a lot of people did not, myself included, because it was a pre-order thing with the Wind Waker way back when, and now and not everyone could pre-order. So yeah, I'm hoping Majora's Mask 3D, if it's going through, which I certainly hope it is. I hope that it has Master Quest.
Yes.
I agree.
It would be like having twice the number of dungeons, and as we know, Majora's Mask didn't have that many dungeons, but it made up with that with side quests. So
yeah.
And difficulty.
And difficulty as well, and dare I say it, amazing story.
Story was amazing.
Yes.
I would love for there to be a Cave of Ordeals.
Oh,
That's
is
a good
interesting.
one.
Because they had one sort of like on the moon when it's like the dungeon that you're actually Link in. You have to just fight a series of iron knuckles and whatnot, but it didn't really feel like an actual Cave of Ordeals. It was just sort of a little mini dungeon.
You said this was on the moon?
Yes. To get the last heart piece, you have to do one as a Deku, one as a Goron, one as a Zora, and the last one you can fight is just regular Link.
Oh, and there were Dark Nuts up there?
Iron Knuckles, yeah.
I never knew that.
That's how you get the last heart container.
Oh.
You just trade all your masks in. It's part of the quest chain to get the Fierce Deities mask.
I didn't know there were Iron Knuckles up there on the moon. Wow, I need to look into this. I could have sworn that Nintendo Capri Sun did a Let's Play of getting every single one, but wow. Maybe there was something I missed, I don't know.
Maybe.
But, wow, my mind is blown.
Yeah, man.
My mind is blown. But, what about you, Alex?
I think they should do it basically the same way they did with Ocarina of Time, where they leave it alone in one version and have a Master Quest, so to speak, where they do twist and turn it a little and make it more difficult for the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe add stuff like Cave of Ordeals. But, I mean, overall, for the original, I would like them to leave it alone because it was such a great game.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay.